Chapter 19. An Unexpected Solution. Everyone was eager to help Nancy trap whoever might come for the Woonton jewels. But Toby Simpson said he would have to be excused. He had been up late the night before and must rise early Monday morning for a rehearsal. "It's rather a long drive to my place, so I must go," the actor told them. "But I wish all of you luck this time in capturing the thief. I'll ask Violette to phone me the outcome." After he had left, the couples talked over the vantage points where they would station themselves. George was so sure the secret room had something to do with the entry of the tapper that she requested a post there. "All right," Nancy agreed. Then she said to Bert with a grin, "You'd better go with her and be sure nobody hits her over the head." Since every door and window on the first floor was locked, Bess and Dave chose to stand watch on the second floor. "I wish we had enough people to patrol the outside of the house, too," Dave remarked. Nancy told him she was depending on the police to do this. Then she added, "Ned, how about you and I guarding the attic?" "Sure thing. Personally, I'm sure that's where our thief will be entering." Miss Carter reluctantly went to bed. "I'm sorry I'm unable to act as a guard," she said. The lights in the house were put out and the young people went to their various posts. All had agreed not to have any conversation. It might give away the plan of capture. Nancy and Ned had taken positions on opposite sides of the attic. Ned sat down on the floor near the window where the hand and footprints had been found. Anyone entering by this means would be surprised with a hard football tackle. Secretly, Ned hoped he would have the chance. Nancy stood near a chimney. From there she could watch the stairway and two other windows. Becoming weary, she sat down and leaned against the brickwork. As time dragged by, she found it more and more difficult to keep from falling asleep. "I'd better stand up for a while," she said to herself. "It'll be easier to stay awake that way." A few minutes later, she wondered if her imagination was playing tricks on her. She had felt a movement on the floor beneath her feet. "Am I standing on a trap door we didn't discover?" she asked herself, and moved aside with utmost caution. To her astonishment, a section of the floor next to the chimney rose slowly. There was a very faint squeaking sound, which attracted Ned's attention at once. In a moment, the couple saw a pudgy man, flashlight in hand, emerge from a stairway. Nancy and Ned hoped that the light would not reveal them. They wanted to wait and see what the intruder would do before tackling him. "He must be Gus Woonton," Nancy thought, hardly daring to breathe. "I'll bet he's after the jewels, and when he tries to take them away, we'll pounce on him." The suspect moved forward. He opened the chest and picked up the smaller box. Nancy decided it was time for her and Ned to act. In the now dimly lighted attic, she waved at Ned, and within 2 seconds he had the pudgy man on the floor. The victim lost his flashlight and struggled furiously, but Ned held him down. "Let me up! Let me go! You've got no right here! What do you think you're doing?" The infuriated prisoner cried out. "This chest belongs to me!" Nancy had walked toward him. She picked up the flashlight and beamed it directly at the man. "You're Gus Woonton, aren't you? And you came for this little chest of jewels." "So what if I am, and so what if I did?" the man answered. "Those jewels rightfully belong to me. My grandmother gave me the whole chest, but my parents wouldn't let me have it, or anything else she left me either. Then they went away and left me with guardians who were cruel, but I got square with them." "That's what you wrote in your diary," Nancy remarked. "If you'll promise not to fight anymore and go downstairs quietly with us, we'd like to hear your story." "All right," Gus said solemnly. He gave a hollow laugh. "I thought one place nobody would ever find was the secret stairway I came up." "Where does it lead?" Ned asked. Gus explained that originally it had opened into the kitchen, but the entrance had been sealed off years ago. "I hid food in there," Gus explained. Whenever you went searching in the attic, I'd hide on the steps. One time you almost caught me, so I stepped out on the roof and stayed there until you went downstairs. Then I came back in and you never saw me." "But 3 of us did last night," Nancy said. "Tell me, how did you get into the house with all the doors and windows locked?" Gus smirked. "You're so good at figuring things out. Why don't you try and guess how?" "That's an easy one," Nancy answered. "You wore spiked golf shoes and fastened spikes to your hands and climbed up the brick wall, then came through that window over there." Gus was so amazed he stared in stupefaction at Nancy. "Girls aren't supposed to be bright," he said sullenly. Nancy could not keep from laughing, and Ned remarked, "Gus, I think you'll have to change your mind on that one." "Did you ever steal any cats?" Nancy questioned. "No, but I went to the cage once and looked at them." "When you had on your spiked shoes?" "Yes." So the cat thief had not worn golf shoes, Nancy decided. She asked Gus, "What did you do with all the papers in your secret room?" "Took them to the house where I'm boarding, but not the diary. That's gone. Stolen." Nancy admitted she had removed it, but someone had taken it from her. She now asked another question. "Were you responsible for trying to harm Ned and me on various occasions?" Gus shook his head vigorously. "Tuesday I followed you in a car to see where you lived, but I lost the trail in a parking lot in River Heights. I thought it would be better if you stopped snooping around here. I overheard a lot while I was in the house and decided to attack Ned so he'd make you stay away from here. I sent him a note and then tried to knock him out in the school corridor. That's all I ever did." By this time, the 3 had reached the 2nd floor. Bess and Dave came running forward, astounded. "You caught the tapper?" Bess cried out. "It was the one you suspected, Nancy." Gus replied, "Yes, I'm the one who was doing the tapping. I took off my shoes and used the heels, but sometimes I used a hammer." The group entered Miss Carter's room. After she had been told what had occurred in the attic, Gus went on with his story. "As I told you, my parents went on a long trip and left me with 2 guardians, a couple named Gardner. They were pretty cruel, locked me in the secret room, which they made from a storage area. Years ago, you could only open the panel from the outside, but I fixed that lately. At the time my guardians kept me there, they had an old man as kind of a guard whenever they went out. He used to fall asleep frequently and leave the panel open a little. Then I would sneak out and grab things which were my grandmother's. For a while I hid them in the secret room. There's a closet back of the bookcase which moves. That's where I hid myself sometimes and why I set the mousetrap so nobody could find out the way to swing open the bookcase. I also made openings in wooden panels around the house and in the ceiling of the basement to hide my things in. After 4 years, I forgot where they were and tapped, trying to find them. By the way, the kitchen door to the basement was never locked until you girls came here. You made it hard for me to get around." As Gus paused, Nancy asked Bess if she would go and get George and Bert. As soon as they arrived, the confession was resumed. "Tell me," said Nancy, "when you had a chance to roam around the house and secret various objects, why didn't you run away?" Gus smiled. "I guess I was greedy. In any case, I felt that what was rightfully mine I should hide, while I could. I planned that as soon as I had found everything, I would gather them together and then go." Gus went on to say that the plan had been interrupted when his parents suddenly took him off to the Beverly. He had waited nearly 4 years to get away from there. "When I finally did, I came here to Berryville expecting to find my parents. To my surprise, they had sold the house and vanished. Do you know anything about them?" he asked. There was silence for a few moments. Then Miss Carter spoke up. "Your parents passed away some time ago. Their estate was left in charge of a man named W.F. Bunce." Gus lowered his eyes for a few moments, as if in respect. "I'm sorry I was such a problem to them." Then he added, I never heard of W.F. Bunce. By any chance, did you knock out the man next door in the driveway Thursday night? Gus looked sheepish. Yes, I did. I thought he might have seen me climbing down the wall. Besides, he was sneaking out of this house. Sneaking out of here, Nancy repeated. She had wondered why Bunce had never reported the attack to the police. Was it because he had recognized Gus and didn't dare go to the authorities? Or was it because he had illegally entered Miss Carter's house? It could even have been a contributing factor in his hasty exit from Berryville. Nancy said to Gus, "We understand that your parents left a good bit of money in trust for you." "What?" Gus exclaimed. Mr. Bunce was both the executor and administrator. He was supposed to send money to the Beverly to cover your expenses there, the way your father had, but we understand he never did. Dr. Jones was unaware your parents had died. Nancy revealed all their suspicions about the couple who had been living next door to Miss Carter and had moved out suddenly. Mr. Bunce had an automobile which was registered in your name. "Why, the old cheat!" Gus cried out. "I haven't owned a car in years. I rent the ones I use now. Where can I find this man?" Nancy smiled. "We're looking for him ourselves. We suspect he may know something about the theft of several of Miss Carter's valuable cats." Gus looked at the floor. "Which one of you was tapping to me in Morse code?" "I was," Nancy answered. "It was very good," Gus chuckled. "Did you understand what I tapped back?" It was Nancy's turn to grin. "You dared me to catch you." "Well, I did." "I suppose," said Gus, "that this is the end of the line for me. My tapping heels helped to catch me. It seemed like fun at the time. Now, no doubt, I'm wanted by the police for breaking in here and burglarizing this place." "I'm afraid so," the young sleuth replied. "Also, the police will want to know about the car you rented to follow me to River Heights. It had stolen license plates." "I didn't know that," he declared. At a nod from Nancy, Ned went to telephone headquarters. Gus continued, "I think I'm all through running away." Nancy hoped so. Perhaps, with a steady income, which he could earn from his knowledge of Morse code, Gus would act more mature. If Bunce had not spent all the money in the estate, there might be a good portion left for the rightful heir. In a short time, Detective Keeley arrived. He was pleased that the tapper had been caught. Gus went willingly with him and another police officer. After they had gone, Bert said, "This sure was an exciting evening, but now I guess it will have to come to an end. How about it, fellows?" Reluctantly, Ned and Dave agreed. Emerson College was a good many miles away, and all three boys had early morning classes. "Let us know about any new developments," Ned requested. He chuckled as he added, "I sure enjoyed tackling Gus Woonton. Stopping a man on a football field is cool, but it can't compare with getting the better of a housebreaker." Bess spoke up. "Would you do me a big favor and take me home? River Heights is on your way." "Sure thing," he answered. George said she would like to go too. "Bess and I can come back tomorrow morning and bring Mrs. Beeling. Nancy, would you mind terribly staying here alone?" "Of course not, especially since our mystery tapper has been caught." Left alone with Miss Carter, Nancy brought a tray with hot cocoa and a few cookies for the actress and herself. While sipping their midnight beverage, the two talked about the mystery and hoped that Fred Bunce would be caught soon. Presently, Nancy kissed the actress goodnight and went to her own room. There was not a sound in the house nor outside, yet Nancy could not go to sleep. A sudden thought came to her. The secret trapdoor in the attic had not been closed. "I'll go up and shut it," she said to herself. Taking her flashlight, she went to the third floor. As Nancy neared the open trapdoor, she became curious to know what lay below. Which part of the kitchen had the sealed-off stairway opened into, she wondered. Probably back of the cabinets. Although Nancy went all the way to the bottom, she found nothing unusual except a box of sandwiches, which Gus apparently had left there. She turned back and came up. Just as she reached the top, a man's hand suddenly knocked her flashlight down, and someone else clapped a hand over her mouth. Nancy struggled, but was no match for her two strong opponents. She was bound and gagged, then made to slide down the steps. The trapdoor was closed, and a heavy piece of furniture pulled across it. End of chapter 19.